How's it going, everybody? Here we are, this episode of the AVB Podcast at WovenBirch Designs in Shedden, Ontario. I almost messed that up. With the lovely and talented Miss Jade Bennett. How's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Awesome, Jade. Thank you for allowing us into your amazing space here.
Thank you.
So you and I met when I was helping out David Michael down at Rockstar doing his industry stuff. You came in and did a quick little interview, and you told me about the story here, and I was fascinated. And you were kind enough to allow us to come in to shoot here. So I think I already said it, but thank you. But I want to know. Let's start with you the way we start with everybody on the show. I want to know where you grew up. Tell me about mom and dad, brothers and sisters, all of that kind of stuff.
So, this is the longest story of my life.
Beauty.
I was born in Oshawa, Ontario,
Okay.
to my parents, Karen Lawrenson and Glenn Bennett. I am one of 7 children, some from some different parents, but
Okay.
all related in blood by some way. Yeah, so I basically have lived all over southwestern Ontario. I went to more than a dozen schools before I was in grade 9.
Really? Why?
Not really sure. My mom and my stepdad, who he's passed away now for about 15 years, they were together from the time I was probably about 6 on. So he was always an influence. My stepmom as well was an influence in my life. Moved all over.
But what did mom and dad do for a living?
He did a bunch of sales jobs, and because she just kept having kids, was pretty much a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. At some point, you don't have another choice.
Right, and there was 5 of us.
Right.
The boys were younger than us, but so, with the costs of daycare and all that, it was more costly. So, but we moved all over because of different jobs and whatever.
How was that for you? Like some people I talked to, they loved it growing up, and other people, if they have to move around, they hated every part of it.
I don't remember it being horrible, but I'm a very outgoing, sociable person, so I think it was easier for me than it definitely was for my sister. My older sister's not very social. I don't think it was easy at all, but I think it was what we knew, so you go with the flow. But sometimes we moved houses a couple times a year. I'm pretty sure we switched schools, at least I think I switched schools in grade 9 3 times. And that's when I finally moved here to London with my dad.
Okay.
And that's where I stayed for all of high school.
Was that like a stability thing at that point?
I think that was a mental health thing at that point. I think I went from being a very quiet and reserved and child that never asked for anything to a rebellious, big, huge pain in the ass that never shut up. And I haven't shut up since. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you moved in with Dad in London, was it just you and Dad, or did some of the siblings come too, or?
No. So my stepmom Lisa had been with my dad since I was about 5.
Right.
They got married over the years. She's a fabulous woman. She's been very supportive over the years of me. I wouldn't be where I am today without her. She's probably the most stable influence in my entire life. So when I was in grade 9, she had my little sister Paris, was born. So she was lucky enough to inherit 3 kids at the time. Pretty much my sister, my brother, and I all moved in with them.
Okay.
For a time. That changed. She had Paris was born, and then 2 years later Hunter was born.
So you're just always surrounded by humans.
Always surrounded by other people's kids.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And hence the reason I don't have any of my own. People are always like, "You're so good with kids. Why you don't have any?"
Yeah.
Because I've raised a few of my own already.
That's funny. So what was school like for you? Like what caught your interest?
I think well, music, because I was never anywhere long enough to do much of anything or establish much of anything. We didn't do much growing up.
Okay.
We lived in Ancaster for a bunch of years, and I did a bunch of choir stuff there at a local church because of a friend.
Was that early on? Like, was that?
That would be like grade 5, 6, 7.
It was early.
Yeah.
Okay, so music was there the whole time.
My dad's a musician.
Oh.
My dad's a lifelong full-time musician.
Okay.
He's fairly well known in the area. He never got famous, but he did some stuff with Disney, wrote songs for the Olsen twins.
Get out of here. Really? Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. He went to LA.
So he's responsible for that shit?
Yeah.
All right.
No, he's responsible for making them sound not like shit.
All right.
I'm pretty sure they spliced that together word for word. Sorry, Mary Kate and Ashley.
That's
you know that's gonna come back to haunt me.
That's funny. Well, I mean, I think they've given up on the music.
I know. But we're talking in 1994.
Yeah. So wait a second. So like you're of the right age that like Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen were like they were like stars to our age, right? So tell me about give me your perspective on that, because it's a little unfair to ask you about the working process, but like your dad's working with like Mary Kate and Ashley, and I believe, if I'm not incorrect, that was right around the time the countdown clock, which is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. But that was right around their 18-year-old countdown clock thing was coming around.
No, I think
you're
giving me a little bit too much credit on my age.
No. But like they started doing their music stuff right as they were becoming like 18 years old, or was it later on?
No, they were youngins. They were little ones doing it. Like not little, but I mean. Early adolescence.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. They were doing music and all that stuff. Glorious,
right?
I forgot all about that part of it.
I think that was my jam.
Actually, no, I forgot all about that part.
Before they were even.
Because I think more of them, like when I think of the Olsen twins.
Why are you thinking about them?
I don't. But because you brought them up.
I'm sorry.
But like I think about them from like the Full House era. And then B, that like I remember when they were about to turn 18, and I listened to a lot of Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony and stuff, and like I remember being creeped out at the time. Like I was only even like, maybe I was early mid 20s or something, and I remember sort of being like, there's a countdown clock for these two fucking 17-year-old girls, and like it was weird. So, and then it was right after that they started doing like the movies that were like, or no, maybe it was even before that they were doing that.
So I'm picturing 1992, 1993. We would have been like 14.
Yeah. That's fucking
because you're pretty much the same age as me.
Yeah. That's weird. It's weird that I'm glad I don't have that much of a perspective on the Olsen twins.
No, but then it all went there at the beginning of then the Paris Hiltons and all this shit, and it all went downhill from there, right?
Yeah. So what do you remember? Do you remember all of that stuff with Dad? Like, was that a thing to you?
So so like my dad had a show in London on TV here, and we got to be on the show. And
okay.
We sang on all of his albums, and I grew up in a music studio. And
like he had like what he was like the local Sonny and Cher.
My dad was a local children's entertainer.
Get out of here! So he's like Captain Kangaroo.
He still is, right?
Okay.
So my dad, his name's Glenn Bennett, but he doesn't do a whole lot much anymore, but he's still...
But this was like a regional television...
Yeah, it was I think it was Saturday or Sunday mornings. It was a kids show on, it was called Friends, which we always joke about that he didn't copyright it, right? Because we would have been rich.
That's hilarious.
So
like, that's gotta be, so is that part of the moving thing too?
No, he was always here.
Oh, okay.
Once my mom and him broke up,
right.
he was always here. So he was our stability here in London. We came here every weekend.
Right.
Well, most weekends.
So how old were you when you moved to London?
15. Well, 14. Grade 9.
So you didn't kind of grow up with Dad being like the children's, like in the town where Dad would, like you didn't go to school with people who knew your dad from TV, right?
Well, no, but my dad used to come and sing at all our schools.
Oh, so you did kind of have
Everybody knew, and like Ontario, he was pretty well known. Like everyone knew who our dad was.
Right.
It wasn't like, but he's never been famous. But like, we can't go to the mall when we were kids without kids being like.
Okay.
Right.
What was that? That had to have been fucking. Is it weird? Is it weird growing up?
But
with
I
that?
don't know because you don't know any different.
No different.
Is it weird? Is it weird? It's different, but it's cool. Your dad's Glenn Bennett.
Right.
Even still, like when I was in like my 20s and I started at the hospital, and people my age would find out who my dad was. They watched his show and they know his songs.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't know any different.
It's great because you seem like you really kind of enjoy it. And a lot of times you hear the stories where it was a bad experience.
I don't think he would have been more present if he hadn't been a musician. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think people try and make that about what it is, but it's people are as present as they want to be.
All right.
I don't think being a musician had anything different to do.
Right.
I love like performing and love all of that, so that was always at least something we have in common.
Right.
Right.
Plus when like people would come up and approach him when you were around, you're the type of personality that wouldn't shy away from those people anyway. You'd be more engaging with them, so it was just another experience, Mark.
There was a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I spent half my childhood in the Long and McQuaid parking lot.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then eventually we'd get bored. There was 3 of us,
Right.
and then we'd be like, "Fuck this," and we'd go in and start playing with the instruments, right? Then Dad leaves.
So it was going to cost them money.
But that was back in the day when you could leave your 3 kids in the car at this side of the road on Wellington, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think it was Long and McQuaid there. I can't remember what it was, but it's not there anymore.
That's so funny. Okay, so music is like part of your life from go then.
My mom and my dad met at choir in church.
Okay.
Yeah, they met through music. My stepdad was a musician.
Okay.
So yeah, it's.
So when did you start performing?
I performed my whole life, I think.
Yeah?
Like.
Okay, so it was always just a part of what you did.
Yeah, and like brownies when I was a kid, I would get up and sing, and it was always, that was always a big, huge part of my life. And then in high school here in London, I was really fortunate that Mrs. Mennel, Sandy Mennel, ran a group called Fred's Folk when I was in high school, and you had to audition for it, and we got to compete.
Oh, cool.
But she, taught us all kinds of harmonics and theory, and we did all 5-part harmonies, and we went to Annapolis and competed when we were in grade 12, I think. Like, I don't know. Long time ago.
Yeah.
And recorded a CD.
Oh, cool.
So that was such a great, and even though I was such a messed up teenager, she was always really supportive. And
how so? How were you a messed up teenager?
Well, because of the moving around and all that, I got quite rebellious. I skipped school a lot.
Okay.
I pretty much dropped out in grade 9 for a semester.
Oh yeah.
With the moving around and everything, and I was rebellious. I did a lot of drugs. Back then it was acid.
Yeah.
And the kids now will be like, what's that?
Yeah, no, it's still around.
So yeah, we used to do a lot of acid and skip a lot of school, and mushrooms, smoke a lot of weed, still do.
And just kind of chill. So where, like, when did you get it together, kid?
So
you're hoping too soon.
I really have to. I have to give the credit to the music program and the drama program at Banting.
Okay.
Mrs. Mennel was honestly, if I hadn't have done that, I don't think I would have got my shit together. I was fortunate that my dad and my stepmom took me to a halfway house for a tour. Once.
Okay. Like kind of like look at this.
This is you fucking come home and you're not high, and
right.
And really my dad's not that strict, so I still came home and
Right,
got
right.
high. But that was kind of the big thing, and I ended up going to therapy, and I had a doctor, Linda Aiken. It's weird I remember her name. who was just fabulous, and she was explaining to me about how you don't need to have a traditional family.
Was it a lot of expectations that way? Like, were
Well,
you angry at not having that kind of thing?
So many people tell you you have to have a mother-daughter relationship, or you have to have this, there's this dichotomy of what a family is supposed to be, or what you're supposed to have in your life. Like, I'm supposed to get married and have kids. I'm supposed to see my mom 7 times a year. And I wasn't getting anything beneficial out of that. It was destructive for me.
Okay.
At the time, my stepdad was drinking a lot.
Right.
And it was middle of the night phone calls and this and that. And I was struggling.
Right.
So at some point, you have to pick you.
Yeah.
So in my early 20s, I cut off most ties with my mom's side of the family, and went back to school and became a DSW and thrived. Got my neurobehavioral certificate. And
were you still doing music the whole time around all of this?
No, and I quit all music.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's actually, that's why now when I do it, I'm like, I'll never again. That's what was missing. Because nothing was ever good enough.
Right.
And I was very successful, and people still are like, you gave up a great job. I have the highest paying job in my field. As a DSW. As a DSW.
Right.
I worked on the psych ward at the hospital. They only hired 4 of us in all of Ontario.
Right.
And I was one of them. And
talk to me about that as a career.
It's horrible.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I worked on a lot.
Explain what it is. Explain what it is, both for me and for anybody who might not quite.
So, never, ever, ever think your healthcare professional isn't working hard enough.
Right.
Is the first thing I have to, especially in psych. It's horrible because you're trying to help people who are in the crisis, and you're fighting the system, and you're fighting the families, and you're fighting the people.
Yeah.
And really, all of us just want to do good, or you wouldn't even be there in the first place, because we're all do-gooders.
Right.
And you sacrifice yourself. And I, 20 years ago, was the one saying, well, I don't understand how you get burnt out. And didn't realize until the day that I quit that I had been done for so long.
Oh, yeah.
But I was really good at it. And so you get that reinforcement.
What's the job though? Like what is it like? What is the job?
So I worked with the individuals with so people who have cognitive disabilities and behavioral concerns. So like someone who has autism that's also aggressive.
Oh, gotcha.
Or has like a mental illness like schizophrenia and autism, or
like combined diagnosis.
Dual diagnosis is the ward that I worked on at the, in the end. I worked in brain injury for a lot of years, which is, it's like you or me getting in a car accident tomorrow. It's one of those things that'll put you in perspective really quick.
Yeah.
And I'm still really close with a few of the people that were clients, because they're not clients. It's like you or me getting it. But psych was different.
Yeah.
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never have guessed I would have been good at it. And but I loved it for a long time. But it takes everything out of you. You do. You give everything, physically, mentally.
How long did you do it for?
I worked at the hospital, I think, for 9 years. But I worked as a DSW I graduated in 2001, but I was already working for at least a year, so 2000.
Okay.
So at least 16 years.
Whew.
I still do it casual, but I don't.
Okay.
Not very often.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm fired now.
So when did tell me the story about getting into like kind of finding where you're at now.
So music was always my thing. It was always my passion. I sang like backup for a few bands when I was younger before I got full time and sold out to be an adult. Started adulting.
Right.
And
such a millennial term.
Is it?
Oh,
Oh, is it? I didn't even realize. I'm so not cool. That's funny.
Oh, no. That's, no, it's very much a millennial term.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm like, that's funny. I'm like, now I feel cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so young and hip. No, I'm not. No, so then 2 years ago, a guy that I went to high school with asked me if I wanted to start a band with him. And I hadn't sang other than karaoke in a really long time.
Right.
So I said, sure. And I had a list of songs that I had the harmonies in my head.
Okay.
So I hear the harmonies in my head.
Yep.
And I kept this list of songs, and I always was like, I want to do a duet. If I ever do music again, I want to do a guy and girl duet. I had it all in my head. And so I said to Dave at the time that, we got to do a duet. And he said, I can't keep up with you. I can't sing with you. And I remembered this guy from high school who was a mutual friend, who I hadn't seen in 20 years, who I'd always remembered I loved singing with.
Right.
Random weird shit that I remember. Yeah. And I said, well, what about that guy, Jeff Harloff? And Dave said, well, let me ask him. They're still friends. And I had no idea whatever. I just always remembered this guy was one of the few people that I was always like, damn, he can sing, right? And I written harmonies to a song that he'd written when we were kids high at a party in the bedroom, right? So I knew we sounded good together. So one day Dave said, yeah, he wants to jam.
That's great.
So I showed up at jam and we sang and we sound really good together, and so we started Letters from Hawthorne.
Great.
At the time we were a trio.
You were still working at the time?
I was not. No, I was already doing this full time.
Okay, well, walk me from the job into this. Yeah.
So 3.5 years ago, I dislocated my wrist at work.
Right. And
they sent me back up to the ward to work. Oc Health looked at me, said I was fine, and sent me back to work.
Right.
3 days later, I found out I had a dislocated wrist. I worked for the hospital that I went to the hospital at urgent care for.
Right.
All right? And you're like, what the fuck? And then I called in for my shift, and then of course WSI. I didn't realize the whole WSIB and how horrible it would be, or I would have just said I hurt myself at home.
Okay.
Right? Because you get sick time.
Right.
As soon as you say you were hurt at work,
turns into a thing.
I ended up getting the paperwork, and afterwards they brought up stuff, and they were bringing up stuff that had nothing to do with the injury to WSIB about how I wouldn't be back to work because of issues with my boss that I'd had. It's like, honestly, after the fact, you're like, what? I was back at work after one shift.
Right.
I got my wrist and I went back to work. I work in psych.
Right.
I'm the first one in the door to restrain someone.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And then that was kind of the icing on the cake, and then I went to work and something happened, and I really honestly legit can't even remember exactly what happened.
What it was?
And I was just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
And so there'd been an incident a couple years earlier, and they tried to pay me to leave.
Right.
I don't know if I should say it.
Oh, yeah.
But no, but they had tried, and I had refused it.
Right.
So in the end, they offered me a settlement. And because I knew they were going to, they already had over something that had nothing. They were just, because I was a troublemaker, because I would advocate for my patients and try and make sure that people were taken care of.
Right.
And so I took their settlement.
Yeah.
I think it shocked them more than it shocked, because I'm a fighter, right? I go in and I walked in and was like,
fuck it, I'm done.
Tell me how much you're gonna give me.
Yeah.
And that was it. And so in order to get me to be quiet, because I had to sign a confidentiality agreement about all of the stuff that goes on there.
Oh, the specifics. I'm like, this is not being...
No, I'm not allowed. I'm in my head, I'm already going, I'm not allowed to disclose the amount.
Right.
They do it all the time,
No,
right?
I had the same deal. It's how I got out of my job too.
Yeah.
So
So but it was honestly, so I came home and was able to start my business.
And what is your business? Talk about
I
that.
refinished furniture.
How the fuck did that start?
So that was my hobby when I still worked at the hospital because I like to have cool shit. I like to decorate.
Okay.
I flipped houses.
Okay.
I've owned like 3 or 5 houses.
Okay.
And like fixed them up and made good money. How do you think I bought this?
Right.
So I used to like find something cool. I on night shift at the hospital on Kijiji and buy it and fix it up and sell my old shit.
Oh, cool.
And then my friends were like, "Where'd your coffee table go?" And I'm like, "I sold that." And then I started a Facebook page. And so then when I quit my job, this girl said you should start chalk painting. I was like, okay. And the next day I bought a can of chalk paint and I painted something and I sold it and
just kept going.
And I just kept going and I hardly ever refinish anything anymore.
Yeah.
WovenBirch are the headboards that I make that I don't even have one of because I hardly do them anymore. But so yeah, it's not like full time. Like I don't make great money like I used to, but
it's just the thing you do for fun.
And then now I get to do music.
And how did the church come about?
So the church came about, I sold my duplex. I tried to be a landlord. I bought a fixer-upper. It was a hoarder house. It was horrible.
Tell me that story.
Horrible!
All right.
The guys from Teppermans were mad when, you know how they bring your new appliances, they have to take the old one away? They were calling Teppermans because they were so mad about having to remove them. And I'm like, dude, they're not mine. Oh. They're not mine. I know. They were so gross. Like, we don't even know what was rotting in them.
Oh my God.
And I was like, sorry, dude, that I made sure I kept asking when
You're going to pull this out, right?
They have to take them, right? Shovels. We used shovels. It was something else, but I made some money off of it.
Right.
Being a landlord's horrible.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that.
Right.
That is not worth the money. Unless you're a slumlord with a 20 complex.
Right.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Owner occupied was okay as long as the tenant wasn't horrible.
Right.
I lived there for a while.
Yeah.
So I bought another place and rented the whole place out and hated it and sold it and it closed, and the next night at work I went on MLS and I found this and I said I want to go see that, and I messaged my realtor and she's like, seriously? Like, but she'd been through them all with me, so she was like, nobody's gonna even bother with you anymore, fine, let's go look at a church.
Right.
And we walked in the door and I sang. As soon as I walked through the door, and I didn't go up in flames.
That's always a bonus.
And I was like, that's it, it's done, it's mine, buy it. And I had to rezone it. I didn't know I was going to be able to live here.
Oh yeah, because you were telling me that when you bought it, you didn't even know that you could do what you wanted to do with it, right?
It was zoned institutional.
Okay.
So I wasn't even able to live here, nothing. I couldn't stay. If they said, if we know that you're staying there, like nothing.
Right.
I cried when I had to go to the meeting, right? They have the meetings where people can, nobody showed up because nobody cared that I was buying it, because it was bikers that were partying here.
Oh.
So the bikers, there was a stage, we took it out.
Okay.
Hindsight, maybe we should have left it in. But and they used to have the bikes lined up Saturday nights all the way downtown Shedden.
So nobody cared that you were there.
No, right. And so I was like, okay, cool.
Right.
And then that was that. And then I moved in the next weekend.
So it hadn't been converted into anything yet?
So I had already started the back, so I
Okay.
basically have a 1-bedroom apartment in the back. So
Right.
the back was started, but I hadn't started out here yet.
Right.
And then we ripped up the whole floor and restructured. It was rotted, it was all caving in.
Okay.
So there's a whole new footing around the whole thing.
That couldn't have been cheap, right?
Good thing is the guy did a whole lot of shoddy work, and I won in small claims court.
Okay. I like, the good thing is the guy did a bunch of shit work. Okay. So,
But basically, in the end, it was like if you and me had done the work ourselves.
Right.
Like the floor is not perfect, but if you didn't have to pay the $30,000 for it,
then who cares, right?
then does it? And at that point, it was going to be my living room.
Right.
I don't know. I sit on the fence. I still have problems because of things that are going like
Right.
wrong, but
How long have you been in here?
4 years in February. 4 years February. Yeah, since
Right.
I got the keys.
And it's just been full-time work pretty much in here?
No, once the furniture took over like 3.5 years ago, I don't do a lot of work on the building anymore. I worked like a dog on the building.
Right.
But then it
then
was different when it was my hobby.
Right.
My hobby was flipping houses and doing, now
Right.
I do furniture, I don't,
Right.
so now it's like my brain is like mush.
So, all right. So, talk to me about how Eve's Bush ended up coming around.
So we started singing again and got a really positive response, which was fabulous. Which I can't really take all the credit for because you'll see he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where he can't commit to more than
what he can commit
yeah,
to,
because
kind
of
of.
life and whatever. And I love doing it again. And once I realized how much I missed it, and then things happened, like the one guy left the band, and it was that realization that this could all blow up in my face and be over.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All
and
right.
and so I was like, no, if I want to be able to do this, I have to be able to do it alone.
Okay.
If I'm doing this,
Yeah.
I have to do it alone. I'm probably more committed to us than I am to me.
Right.
Because I love what we have and the sound that we have, and that it's so unique. Like most people just can't sound that way together. And it's not that I can say it's me or him. It's just a fluke that together we sound
It works.
so good. And then I sing songs without him that we do together, and I'm like, well, that's just crap, right?
Feels like you're missing a piece, right?
Yeah, there's just something about that duo that is just worth it to me.
No, I'll say this as a guy who, like, the majority of my songwriting I did with my band, the Dirty River Band, and now I play the majority of the time solo. I still play with the band, but most of the stuff that I play is solo. And I brought a couple of the songs that we do as a band to the solo act, and it's not the same by any means, but you find ways to make it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, okay, this is like the way we do it as a rock band. It's a rock song, like it's a headbanging rock. Like I'm thinking of one song that we do called Cocaine Jesus, and it's a like a murder and headbanging. It's like heavy leads and like heavy drums. The bass is like and when I play it by myself, it's still got the motion of it, but it's, I don't know, it's more subtle, and there's a different take to it. So I don't know, maybe it's just a matter of finding.
No, and I find even now, like some I've made so much my own that when I play them, like it takes me a minute to kind of get back. I'm like, right?
Yep.
Or he'll be looking at me like, where are you, what
Oh,
happened?
that happens.
Like,
Oh yeah, that happens.
We've been doing this song for 2 years, and all of a sudden you're totally out there. But
Yeah.
no, I'm fortunate because we just jive so well together that
Right.
it's been really easy. And because his issue is commitment and he feels like he's letting me down, maybe, probably not, but
Right.
for lack of better terms, that I was like, but at the same time, no, like, if this is what I want to do, I got to do it on my own, and I have to, and I always hated being the girl that just sang. I hated
you only started playing recently?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Me too. I've only been playing guitar for about 4 or 5 years. So.
I got I can't say I've never played before,
Sure.
but I had never actually tried to play until, it was probably almost 2 years ago now.
Okay.
And when we started playing again and everything it was like, well, yeah, I've got to start playing something, right? So I told my dad, no, that's how I got my vintage guitar. It's my dad's old guitar. It's a 1982.
Nice.
So I said to my dad, if you see a cheap guitar anywhere, and good thing he'd forgotten my birthday, because the next week I got my guitar, and that was so then I had to start playing that, but then I got a ukulele.
Okay.
Fell in love with that.
Yeah.
And I just especially because Jeff playing the guitar, I love the ukulele and guitar, and we do our stuff's pretty folky covers,
Gotcha.
so it just sounds good.
Yeah.
The ukulele is my favorite thing in the whole world.
It's funny because whenever I see somebody play a ukulele, I never I only recently started thinking of a ukulele as an instrument.
Most people.
Before that, it just sort of seemed like a toy to me.
I know.
Right? So what is it?
It gets a bad rap.
I guess and it's also Tiny Bubbles and Don Ho is all I think about. What is it about the ukulele that sort of fascinates you?
It makes me happy.
Yeah.
There's something about playing the ukulele that's just a little bit happy.
It's all plinky and up in the air.
I play Titanium on the ukulele. I play Zombie on the ukulele. Right? It's not even there's a local artist, I'll plug you today, Leanne Mayer. Her video came out today.
Okay.
She's a ukulele player, man. Girls rock on the ukulele.
Yeah.
You guys don't give it credit.
I'm not discounting it. I didn't think of it.
People didn't.
Yeah.
It's
a
so
thing
new.
That's coming back for sure.
Matt Mays posted a video the other day with his, and I was like, dude, the ukulele rocks, and he liked my post.
Nice. That's
and
exciting.
I was like, yeah, man, it's just a different sound. Some people just can't accept it. It's one of those things. It's like dealing with old men about furniture and stuff.
Right.
Right? Why did you paint that?
Right.
Fuck.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Right?
That. Yeah.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
What are you doing in this church?
Oh, do you get that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, the ukulele is not appreciated enough, but there's a few of us that are starting to bring it back. But at the same time, I don't want to be the girl that just plays the ukulele, because I don't want to be the girl that just sings, and I don't want to, I want to do it all.
Right. So what does that mean for you then?
So learn everything and conquer the universe.
All right. How's it going?
So far, so good. High five.
That's awesome. That's brilliant. So is that basically that's where we're at right now, right? Conquer the fucking universe.
Just do whatever makes you feel good about doing you. Quit your fucking job. Spend your retirement plan. Because that is not going to make you live any longer or make you any happier.
Yeah, it's a weird headspace to get into though. Was it hard for you to transfer? Because it is and I think we've now had a couple of conversations that are like this, but for me, I've done the art and entertainment thing for my whole life, but I was always a truck driver, or truck driving was always my thing to fall back on, and I just always fell back on it. And it was only over in the last year, kind of taking the podcast on and music full time, and sort of trying to figure out how to make a living doing that stuff, that my head even got into a space where I understood what the difference was. And I'm still not there. I'm still kind of getting there. Like it still takes pieces. Like I still have days where it's like, why aren't you getting up and doing something immediately? It's like, well, because you don't have anything to fucking do today. You're okay, man. Like just take a break.
Haha, that's funny you say that. Yeah.
Did you have how was that for you?
I still have that.
Yeah.
You take a day off and you feel like you're a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. I took a lot of time off the last few weeks, and I'm like, you know what? Who cares? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm still working.
Yeah.
I'm just not working. But no, I shit on myself, and you're like, oh, I didn't do enough today. Well, Grey's Anatomy was really, really good on Netflix. But like, usually I'm always working.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to make the happy medium.
Oh, it's so weird because, I get exactly what you're saying, because you're in this spot where it's like, okay, you convince yourself, because you've been go. So you're, all right, I'm going to take a break and just not even give a shit. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to not give a shit. And then the first thing you do is give a shit. Like the whole time, if I take a break, I'll be 5 minutes into a break and start thinking about like, there's a list of things that still need to get done, and you're sitting here, and so I'll spend 3 hours on just down. I'm gonna take 3. I'm not gonna work until noon, and I'll spend from 9 a.m. till noon
fretting about work.
Like being upset at myself that I'm not doing the stuff that I end up getting done at 1 o'clock in the afternoon anyway.
Add the customer component to it.
Okay.
So you're trying to take it, anytime I say I'm taking a day off, I get a message about a piece of furniture. What are you gonna do? What are you going to do? That's your business, that's your sale, that's your mortgage payment. There is no such thing. If somebody wants to come and people are always like, oh, when do people want to see stuff? Friday nights.
Yeah.
I sell more stuff on a Friday night and Monday nights than I do any other time.
This paycheck just came in and we got the weekend to fuck with it. Yeah.
But people, and it's like, but no, like you're planning to go out for the night?
No.
Like a $300 dresser sale, people don't understand that, right? Like, but then the music, then you have to make it a priority, which definitely has affected the business.
Right.
And pays so well.
We're all just walking millionaires.
I'm like, I am so rich. Yeah. But at the same time, it's worth it. But you've got to have the different mindset.
It's so fucking funny too that you say it like that, because I'm sitting back here, like the three of us know exactly what this life is. And like George and I have been sleeping on floors and great floors, by the way, fantastic, and very happy to do it. It's been amazing. But like we're sleeping on the floor of a studio, and then we're sleeping in a buddy's apartment, and then we're sleeping at a friend's house, and it's George was on literally on the floor last night, and I'm trying to blow up an air mattress And it's like, you look around and I can look at you and go like, oh, well, yeah, but she owns a fucking church, and Ray, she they go home and they do, but it's like, no, it's not, there's not, like, yes, there's freedom and there's beauty in that, and it's exactly what you want, but that first mental switch that you have to make is it's not just, it's not lounging around, it's not fucking, I don't have all the time in the world, and when I do have the time in the world, even that gets fucking eaten up by me telling myself I should be doing more than what I'm doing, kind of thing.
It's one of those things where when it comes down to it, and when business is slow and all of that, when it comes down to it, my mortgage payment is less than any apartment I could get. And that's honestly what it comes down to, is I am fortunate enough that the situation I was in when I bought the building, having the jobs that I had, and the
after
savings
working your
that
ass
I
off
had,
for 16
and
years,
literally we're talking about getting beat up by people for fucking 16 years. So I earned my money, people, all right? And you wonder why I'm a bitter bitch? That is why. Don't fuck with me.
And cut.
And that's where we ended. Mic drop. Like, mics are too expensive to drop.
We get the insurance.
Right? Like, seriously. honestly, it's one of those things where it's, when it all comes down to it, the life that I lived and what I worked for, no matter what, even if I was on welfare, I couldn't pay what I pay to live here anywhere else. And like, my stepmom sold her house and we were trying to downsize. Like, she didn't downsize, she ended up with a mortgage 3 times the size and a house half the size. Right? Like, so perspective-wise, when I have had moments where I've thought about giving it up and going back to all of that, is no matter what I would buy, like I'm not in a position where I would sell and not be able to buy a house. But what am I'm gonna go try and buy a $250,000 shithole in London when I pretty much own this.
I'm having a moment, and you said words that are all accurate, but the fact that we live at a time where $250,000 is a shithole is still.
Do you know my first shithole I bought was $84,000 in 2002. 2002. $84,000. That house just sold for over $200,000.
The first house or the only house that I bought and then subsequently lost, we bought for less than $70,000. I think it was like $67,000, and then we ended up losing it, and that was a whole other, because I had a whole thing through the 2008 crisis or whatever. But like, we ended up losing it, and I believe it was on the market recently for somewhere in the neighborhood of like 170. Like $100,000 more than we paid for it.
Yeah, and there was no room for that much renovations in the one that I like. There, you could have fixed up. Like I'd already done the kitchen and done the. So you're not looking at. So to me, this was for what I paid for it, and at this point, I spent my savings into it. I know what it's worth. I know I can sell it for a whole lot more.
It's tough though too, because like, and that's one thing with like something like this, like it's worth X or whatever, but like you got to find somebody that wants to buy a fucking church.
I've had people come and knock on the door and offer to buy it. Oh no, so I was having issues with taxes. So I messaged a local realtor, because I didn't want to make my lady come all the way out from London just for a quick, like I just wanted an estimate. So I could, because I knew their tax evaluation was like 4 times in the end what it was supposed to be. I messaged a local realtor. She messages me back, sets up a time to come. 15 minutes later, she's got a contractor at my door from Port Stanley who wants to buy my building. And I wouldn't I was so mad, I lost my shit. But at the same time, and then 2 other times I've had just random couples driving home from the beach from Toronto. Because I'm also 10 minutes to Port Stanley. So everybody forgets how close I am to the beach. So it's prime land, The shithole next door sold for $200,000. And they have a quarter of mine acre.
That's crazy.
Oh no, so this is my retirement plan. So,
but it's what a great plan.
Well, because I'll be too old to deal with it by then anyway. So until then,
you get to be here and play in a church.
I get to, and we have our studio here, and I do my furniture, and I'm broke, but I'm happy, so who cares?
And you're living in a church.
I was broke when I made $60,000 a year.
You know what? You just said it exactly. One of and that's the conversation my wife and I had recently, was like, look, at the end of the day, this week we're tight, next week, we're tighter, and and then the week after that we finally got money or whatever. But like, I was driving truck 60 hours a week, 50 to 60 hours a week, and making really, really, really good money, and had to do next to nothing with it. And I had less of a life, like I had less to show for it then than I do now. Because in order to do that kind of work, in order for me to like get my head into a space to even be able to do that shit and not kill people, both because like you're driving truck and if you fall asleep you're gonna kill people, but also like mentally, like mental health wise, you get me on the road on a day when I'm overtired And what I just, like, you pull in front of me and tap your brakes. I got 80,000 pounds, motherfucker. You really want to test me? Like, and that's not a good mental space to be in. Like, it's not.
Not behind the wheel of the truck.
No, it's not. And quite honestly, like, I talked to my wife and I said, like, look, I'm a happier human being. Like, I'm a better fucking person.
Yeah.
This way. And I think that just being able to get your mind from that one sort of way of how to earn a living and flipping it to this other way of how to earn a living and understanding that it's the exact same thing.
So much of it comes down to the stuff. You don't need the shit. Stuff. Nope. It's just stuff. And you're working to buy more stuff that you don't fucking need. Mm-hmm. The first year I did this, and I mean, I used to get my nails done professionally and my hair done professionally, and I've made hundreds and hundreds of dollars selling the clothes that I bought that I never wore, that still had tags on them because they didn't fit because of the sizes. And then when I lost weight, I skipped whole sizes, right? Okay. So I never actually even got to wear them.
Were you heavy?
Yeah, I've lost 85 pounds.
Okay.
I went vegan.
All right.
I lost some before that, I think, because of quitting work and whatever.
I was 508 at my peak.
We talked about this.
Oh, did we talk? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I forget who I say the same story over and over again.
So many people. Oh my God.
I repeat myself a lot. So.
No, I just remember because it was something we had in common. I remember thinking, cool. Yeah. No, so I lost a bit when I quit work and started doing the furniture and whatever. Right.
And it's interesting when you lose that much weight, when you talk about skip size, you sort of like you wake up one day and you're like, who the fuck is that?
Dude, I don't even still with like guys hitting on me. Like a year ago, someone hit on me and I got mad because I thought he was being
sarcastic, like he wasn't being.
And then the guy went to the bathroom and someone was like, dude, he was like going on and on about you, and I was like, and then it happened again, and I got mad.
Weird mental
in the same week, and then again, it was like within a 3-week, and I said a third time's a charm. The third time, the guy, I was like, thank you.
There you go.
But at the same time, it's a really weird perspective. Like guys that I knew before who never paid attention, that now are so interested. So then. There's a few guys who knew me before, and then you're like, well, you know, like you kind of, it's weird as a woman.
I was just gonna say it's a different spot as a woman, I think, because there's so much placed on physical looks with women that guys can kind of get away with.
And it's just especially, I guess, more so as I'm older. I don't know.
Oh, that's done. Yeah.
Because I'm a good-looking, aged well 40-year because I'm vegan. I've never in my life had anything like this before, ever. It blows my mind. But it's never the ones that you want like you.
That never changes.
Damn it.
I don't think that. Now you're going into a road I really have no perspective on. And George and I have these conversations lately, but like I've been married to the same woman for 25 years. I won early. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So and because of the industry we're in. And the business that we do, I'm around a lot of people who didn't get that opportunity, or when they had the opportunity went, fuck that, I'm looking for more tail. You know what I mean? So it's...
Yeah, guys, yeah.
You know what I mean? Lots of guys that way. And so I deal with, but I have friends who are men in their 40s and 50s who don't have a stable relationship, and I'll have conversations with them, and it never fails. Anytime my single friends will talk about like the chase that they're still on at the age, I look and go, thank God I don't have to worry about any of that.
And I just don't believe in the chase. I believe that you know when. I believe that you just know when. And there isn't any online dating app. Like, that's not normal. swipe pass.
I don't know. I think that's just, I mean, you can say that, but at the same time, like when I was a kid, there was a girl that I talked to for like 6 months on the phone, and she lived like 7 miles away. But at that age, and well.
I miss when we talked on the phone. Even though I don't want to talk, because if you call me, you're like, oh, AJ! Why didn't you just text me?
Yeah. No, but I just think that's more of a cultural thing more than anything. Like I don't look at it like the apps are just like what's happening now. Like the apps are just the fucking meat market bars of the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess for someone who'd been off of the market for so long.
Right.
And doesn't understand that.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
It's insanity.
It is. It's all crazy.
I'm like, it is not right.
I'm just again.
I don't want to talk to them.
You know what's funny? Were you married before?
I have not legally, but yes.
Okay, yeah. So you had a long term relationship.
Yeah.
My wife said something. At one point when like she sort of said it like, and I mean she's like, no, I'm not kidding, I honestly mean that, so I shouldn't say joking because she wasn't joking about it, but like when she said it she was sort of saying it as like a lighthearted kind of thing, and it like still I'm about to tell you and I want to cry a little bit when I hear it, but she was talking with a friend of hers and she said, yeah, I don't think I'd ever do the, like if anything ever happened with AJ and I, or if he ever died or whatever, I don't think I would never deal with the whole marriage thing again. I'm kind of over it.
They all say that.
But I'm like, well, that's not, I don't know how to take that. Like, I don't know if my ego can allow that one a little bit. Like, it's sort of like, so what, I fucking ruined you? Like, that's not,
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing, I don't know. My friends who are married look at you said the first time I met you and you don't have fucking kids either, do you? And I was like, no, I don't. And you're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
My friends look at me and my friends with kids and all their issues and they're like jealous and whatever. And there's pros and cons to all of it.
Of course.
But I was never one who wanted more. I committed in a relationship only because I loved him.
Right.
That was never, marriage was never my goal ever.
Right.
But because I'm the woman that I am, I attract people. They just won't go away.
100%.
But still not the ones that I should.
That's it.
Right?
Jade,
right?
It's been a pleasure.
Oh.
Thank you so much for inviting us into this space here. I can't wait to hear you perform twice. We've got 2 performances coming up. If you want to find more out about our lovely guest, Miss Bennett, and either one of her bands, there will be links down below. Down there are also links to all of our stuff, all of our sponsors, including Merch Runners, who gives us our awesome shirts. Go check them out. While you're down there, make sure you click on the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications so that when we actually post videos, you will know about it. Check out some of the videos. They're hanging out on the side over there, and we will see you next time. And you can come back and make sure you catch the performance videos from Jade. See you later.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this episode of the AVB Podcast. Don't forget you can subscribe to our full audio episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your audio podcasts. The full episodes, highlights, and our live off-the-floor performance videos can be found at our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the AVB Podcast. Of course, you'll find links to our incredible sponsors and this week's guest in the description below. The AVB Podcast is part of the Border City Network. Find more great content at bordercitynetwork.com. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.